Hello everyone, welcome to part 3 video of Physical World. In the part 2 video, we have discussed about the 4 fundamental forces of nature. The gravitational force, the electromagnetic force, strong nuclear force and weak nuclear force. In this video, we will be discussing about another topic, that is conserved quantities. In this universe, any physical phenomena is governed by different forces, and several physical quantities will change with time. Some of the physical quantity will remain constant with time, and this physical quantity we call it conserved quantities. Understanding this conserved principle is very much important to describe the observed phenomena quantitatively. So now, here we define conserved quantities as the physical quantity that remain constant with time. So what are the different quantities that will remain constant with time? For example, energy, mass, linear momentum, angular momentum. So these are the conserved quantities which remain constant with time. These physical quantities may be scalar or may be vector also. So for example, mass and energy, they are the scalar conserved quantity, while linear momentum and angular momentum, they are the vector conserved quantities. All the conserved quantities are governed by laws. That law we call it conservation law. This conservation law is purely hypothesis based and cannot be proved directly, but can be verified via experiments. Now we discuss about the first conservation law, that is law of conservation of energy. So in understanding physical phenomena, the concept of energy is very much important, and the expression for the energy for every system can be written. So here we define law of conservation of energy as energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but only be converted from one form of energy to another. This law of conservation of energy is applicable to whole universe, and it is believed that the total energy of the universe remains constant. Although there are different forms of energy like heat energy, mechanical energy, electrical energy, etc. If all the energy of the universe, which is in different form, is taken into account, then it is believed that the total energy of the universe will remain constant. The general law of conservation of energy is true for all forces and for any kind of transformation between different forms of energy. Now let us try to understand the law of conservation of energy with an example, and also try to understand how the energy gets changed from one form to another. So here we consider a ball which is initially at rest, and it is at a height h from the ground. So here we consider there is a ground. Now the energy that the ball may possess is kinetic energy and potential energy. The expression for the kinetic energy is half mv square, and the expression for the potential energy is mgh. So if the ball is at rest initially, then the kinetic energy is 0 because the velocity is 0, and it is at a height h, so the potential energy will be maximum. In this position, the ball has 0 kinetic energy and maximum potential energy. Now we see how the energy changes as the ball falls from this height. And here we consider the position of the ball while falling somewhere here. So in the second case, as the ball falls with the velocity, then the kinetic energy will not be 0, and it is at a height from the ground which is smaller than the previous height, so it also possesses potential energy. In this position, the ball has both kinetic energy and potential energy. But if we compare with respect to the previous position, then the potential energy will decrease when it falls down because there is decrease in height. From the expression of potential energy, we know that the potential energy of the body depends on the height from the ground. And as the ball falls from this position, the velocity slowly increases, and due to increase in velocity, the kinetic energy of the body will also increase. So at this position, the ball possesses both kinetic energy and potential energy. But if we add both kinetic and potential energy, then it will be same as the potential energy which was initially in this position. Now we consider the third case where the ball is about to reach the ground. So in this position, the ball will travel with maximum velocity so that the kinetic energy will be maximum here, and the height here from the ground is 0, so that potential energy is 0 and the kinetic energy is maximum. Initially the ball possesses fully potential energy, and while falling down, some of the potential energy will change to kinetic energy, and when before reaching the ground, the potential energy fully changed to kinetic energy. But altogether the mechanical energy of the ball will remain constant. So this is all about the law of conservation of energy. Now we discuss about the second conservation law, that is law of conservation of mass. Before the development of general theory of relativity by Einstein, people used to think that matter is indestructible. But according to general theory of relativity, mass can be converted into energy. So this law of conservation of mass has been modified as mass cannot be created nor destroyed provided mass has not undergone conversion into energy. Albert Einstein, he showed that mass can be converted into energy according to the relation given by him, which is E equals to mc square. So here, this m is the mass, c is the velocity of light. So according to this relation between the mass and energy, mass can be converted into energy. This principle of law of conservation of mass is very much important in the analysis of chemical reactions. Either in physical chains or in chemical chains, the total mass of the product must be equal to the total mass of the reactants. So consider here, wood is burning. We may think like, when the wood is burning, the mass is destroyed. But it's actually not. When the wood is burned, it turns into ashes and some leftover parts of the wood, and also it gives carbon dioxide, amount of heat, and also light to the surrounding. So if you convert that heat and light into mass using formula E equals to mc square, and in that if we add mass of carbon dioxide to release, and then mass of this ash, and whatever remaining portion of the wood is left unburned, then it must be equal to the total mass of the wood initially before burning and the amount of oxygen that is required to burn the wood. Another example is nuclear reaction. So in this nuclear reaction also, some amount of mass will be converted into energy. So nuclear reaction is of two types. Nuclear fission. So fission means to split. So here, this uranium-235 has been bombarded with neutron, and then it splits into krypton and barium. So this is the parent and this is the daughter element. And also along with the krypton and barium, the three neutrons will be emitted along with the large amount of energy. So if we calculate the total mass of the product and total mass of the reactant, then it is always found that the total mass of the product is less than the total mass of the reactant. So there is a change in mass or degrees in mass. So that mass which has been reduced is converted into energy. So it is this energy which is converted into electrical energy in the nuclear power plant, and it is this energy which will be given out when the atom bomb will blast. The second kind of nuclear reaction is fusion reaction. So fusion means to add up. So in fusion reaction, two elements will fuse together to form another element. So for example here, this deuterium is the isotope of hydrogen and tritium another isotope of hydrogen. These two hydrogen atoms, they will fuse and will give another element called the helium as the product along with one neutron, and also there will be a release in large amount of energy. So here the mass of the helium and the neutron altogether will be less than the mass of the reactant, that is deuterium and tritium. So the reduction in the mass here also has been released in the form of energy. So it is this energy which is given out by the sun. So energy that will be given out by the sun is just because of nuclear fusion reaction that is going in the sun. Now we discuss about the law of conservation of linear momentum. It states that if the net external force acting on a system of bodies is zero, then the momentum of the system remains constant. So this linear momentum means it's a product of mass and velocity. So here we consider two objects with initial velocity u1 and u2 and with mass m1 and m2. They move to each other and then collide. And then after the collision, the two bodies will travel with different velocity, let's say v1 and v2. So the momentum before collision and the momentum after collision will be constant according to this law of conservation of momentum. So we can write total linear momentum before collision is equal to the total linear momentum after collision. So before collision, the total linear momentum is linear momentum of the first body plus the linear momentum of the second body, and this must be equal to the final momentum of the first body plus the final momentum of the second body. So this is about the law of conservation of linear momentum. Now we discuss about another conservation law, which is law of conservation of angular momentum. It states that when no external torque acts on an object, no change of angular momentum will occur. So if there is no external torque acting on the object, then the angular momentum will remain constant. So what is this torque actually? This torque is equal and opposite force separated by some distance. So this is the two force which is acting in the opposite direction and they are separated by some distance here. This we call it torque. And one common example where this torque acts is while opening or closing the tap. So here we must apply the torque in order to rotate this part of the tap. The angular momentum formula is given by L equals to I into omega. So this I is the moment of inertia and omega is the angular velocity. Angular velocity means the velocity with which the body rotates. This moment of inertia is the product of mass and the square of the radius. So this radius means during rotation, the mass will be distributed over a region with the radius r. So this r is that radius where the mass has been distributed during rotation. In order to understand more this law of conservation of angular momentum, let us discuss about this three kind of spin. So this first spin we call it camel spin, and the second spin we call it seat spin, and the third kind of spin we call it upright spin. So in this three kind of spin, the difference is there, this radius. So radius in the first kind of spin will be larger, and in the second spin it will be smaller compared to the first, but in the third spin it will be smallest. So now let us try to understand how it affects the angular speed with which the person rotates. As we all know that the angular momentum is given by this formula L equals to I into omega, where I is the moment of inertia. It depends upon the radius and mass, and this omega is the angular velocity. So in the first case, the radius is bigger, so that the moment of inertia will be greater, but overall the angular momentum will be constant, so that if this moment of inertia increases, then the angular speed will decrease. So in this case, the person will rotate with a very small speed. Now in the second case, the radius is quite smaller than the previous one. Then the moment of inertia here will be small than the previous one. So the angular speed will be slightly increased. So in this spin, the person will be able to rotate with a greater speed than the first. Now here in the third kind of spin, the radius is very small, so that this moment of inertia will be small, but overall this L is constant. This angular speed will be increased. So in this kind of spin, upright spin, the person will rotate with a very high speed. Here I have added a video so that you will understand more about it.